These are the three themes in the book. So I will touch upon each of these themes, and then I'll turn to the panel talking about his attitude and engagement with the customer. So I'll just go to the first illustration here. How many of you have browsed any company's website and automatically there is a pop-up saying, do you want to meet my salesman? Automatically. All of us have this experience of whatever website I go to, there is a pop-up there. I go to conferences. If you see many places, you go to conferences and you'll see people selling their wares. I would have gone to conference probably to understand something new. I would have probably gone to conference to probably understand the trends. And then finally, they'll start landing at your desk, saying that I have seen you, download a paper, or I have seen you, come to my booth in the conference. Do you want to buy? It's all about the immediate need. Many cases, I think I do a story in this book about somebody trying to put IoT into their product. To do that, there are multiple layers of things to do. Like, you probably have to understand the sensors, you have to probably understand the networking needs, you have to probably understand how the big data can be crunched, or you have to understand what kind of information needs to be passed back. So for a company, there's a need to put a business case internally. To do a business case internally, they start going around in the market, trying to understand what are the trends, how the best way they can engage. So it's a long process. Are you educating the customers in this process? Are you holding their hand to put the business case back? I think that's a fundamental shift. So the questions I want everyone to reflect upon is saying, are you as a company playing an educator to your customer, or are you pushing things? Your product or service may not fit the larger picture. Like as I said, in the case of IoT, you have to understand, you may be selling only the big data. You may be selling maybe the sensor only, but it has to fit into the larger picture. Are you helping them to put the larger picture in place? I worked in Infosys. One of the customers we had, Kodak. It took us 2 years to probably get them comfortable with outsourcing. So we met them in some conferences. We started nurturing them over a period of 2 years, helping them to feel comfortable with outsourcing, helping them to go back to their organization and put a case. So everywhere, I think the need to probably educate the customer becomes very critical. How is how are you supporting them in the process of putting the business case? So these are the set of questions you might want to reflect about your own organizations. Because continuously you start doing that, play that role, you have a much more better chance of building a long B2B relationships. The other point is this is all about, I think the group captain just now announced a lot of conferences. All these conferences create right communities. They champion issues. They work on different things. How much of communities you are a part of, championing issues, how much communities you are driving. How are you engaging into those communities, building the mind share around it? How are you championing? This is another thing very, very important. And the last very important thing is campaign orientation. Many of us do one-off events. Like I was advising a startup company which got a Series A funding, and they go and spurge that funding on the marketing only through events. You go to several events, you don't end up getting the right people buying through you. You have to build a campaign around it. You have to have a continuous long 18 months, 24 months campaign to nurture the minds of the people. So the idea is, how you build that kind of a campaign orientation, and build that kind of right community around you, because it's not a one-off event, or like if you see in the B2C world, advertisement is done over a sustained period of time. It is never done one-off, because that is what takes to build a campaign, and campaigns are always long. So one-off events, one-off touch points with the customer doesn't work. Many touch points with the customers, communities has to be done to make this happen. So I think this key thing in this point, we are saying one of the first one of the first foundations for changing the attitude is you are willing to nurture the customer. And you're willing to educate, handhold the customer. That's the first change. I take a case here, this cartoon, if you really look at it. This guy, all of us, some point at time, want to escape from our work. Because we find pleasure outside the work. We find pleasure somewhere else. We don't find opportunities within our own selves. We don't find opportunities that we can create for our customers. So this cartoon talks about these guys are always looking forward to have a holiday. They are, then they challenge themselves in this particular story, how they can find opportunities within their work, how they can transform experiences. They're all doing routine work, routine sales. They're probably selling menu card sales. How, by selling from a menu card sale, can they create opportunities for their own customers? And finally, the transformation happens to them when they start finding opportunities. That whole approach of how I can look within to start finding better solutions for the market is another attitudinal shift. Am I creating opportunities? And that this doesn't happen at an individual level. So the questions we need to really ask here is, are we selling on features? Like many of us sell products. Are we selling features or are we selling outcomes? Even if I do the most sophisticated product, if I don't sell the outcome, but I sell only the feature, then there is always a problem. So am I thinking ahead of how the customer is going to put it to use? In fact, one of the best lessons I've learned in Tamil Nadu early in my career is to go to this LMW in Coimbatore. They had this textile machinery which they used to ensure that their customers put it to use. They get the best out of that features. They always stayed ahead of the needs, and so they never wanted a particular customer buy a product and never put it to use. They always ensured that the customer is getting the best value out of it. So are we selling features or are we selling outcomes? You're helping the customer to solve his problems. Are we able to, give the competitive edge to the customer, like the same LMW case? Like they're always willing that the customer gets a bet out of it, and then he's getting a competitive edge out of this. So how are we doing this? And this is not at an individual level. It has an institutional need. So I think it's not a single salesman, single account manager who can go and do this. It has to be at an institutional level. You have to make investments into it. Organization has to support into this. How do you stay ahead of the customer needs? I have a colleague from my Anderson days. It was always, in Anderson days, was to say, go and tell a customer what improvements we can do continuously. That was the mindset, always. I could never go to them and say, do you have work for you? I never could sell on features. I always have to tell them on a better ways of doing things. So I always have to create an opportunity which is actually competitive advantage for the customer. And then finally, how are executives measured? If you do all this, and your measurement is only on the next quarterly results, it will never happen. Your executive measurement, that culture, that this is important, that you create opportunities for the customers, the culture that this is critical, that the customer comes first, unless the executives are measured on that. How many of us experience different telephone service providers who chase us for the bills but never pick up our calls for any faults? Because I think that they're never measured by the customer satisfaction. They're only measured by how much of sales and how much of finances are being collected. So it's a cultural issue. It's an institutional issue that you're thinking of customer need ahead. So I think this is another important shift in terms of creating opportunities. Thinking ahead of the customer needs is what is the second change. And the last one is building trusted relationships. This particular cartoon is very interesting for me because I play golf. And many times I meet strangers on a golf course, and within the second hole, they're trying to give me a visiting card saying, I do this services, I sell these products. I've gone there to enjoy my time to play golf. I pursue that as very passionately, but these people have come to see me as an opportunity to sell. So trusted relationships don't build if you don't have common passions for the same thing. Unless both of us are golfers, over a period of time, we build a trust between each other. Same thing at a company level. If I don't go and present the right commitment to the customer, and if I don't think ahead of the needs, there is no trusted relationship being built between us. So the questions you need to again reflect about is, are you having a common passion? Is the customer looking forward to your visits? Is the customer looking forward to your visits saying that, are you the sounding board? You may be selling even your machineries here, but is he looking forward to your visit because you can help him to put it to better use? You tell him what are the new trends in the market, what can you do to improve? How is your salesman looked forward to by the customer? Is the customer success central to your existence? I remember one of the companies I worked for where I think I did a fantastic transaction with the client. I delivered a value beyond what the client was expecting on the transaction. But when they took a feedback about me, the client gave a feedback saying that he doesn't look forward to my visits. Because he says he comes only for the transaction. He never thinks of my future needs. He doesn't care about, he doesn't think about what else would need to be done. So there is nothing to reflect with him. He'll give me an update on the transaction, how well it is being done. Many of us are caught into that transactions. We are not caught on to thinking long-term relationships with the customers. The relationship trust builds that way. We used to do a very unique way of building common interests in Infosys. We used to go to this World Economic Forum, and our CXOs were presented as somebody who champions some global issues. Like somebody is a champion of public-private partnerships. Somebody is a champion of corporate governance. So they used to meet CXOs of similar background, and who have similar interests. And they used to meet each other maybe 5-6 times a year only on that common interest. And the trust between them has grown. We used to never talk businesses about these two companies. It was just that the trust between the individuals on some common global issues they used to work on. And that trust has helped those organizations benefit behind it, because they know that you will never be let down. So building trust is a structured way of doing things. Building trust is having that investment being made into it. Building trust is to have that person-to-person, organization-to-organization having that trust. And what all these things do is very important, that if you nurture the customers, if you have the mindset that I'm going to create opportunities, and if I build trusted relationships, you create more pull. You don't need to push your products anymore. Automatically you're thought of every time there is a demand. Automatically, I think everybody looks up to you saying, I have this issue, can you turn to me? Can you come over and share your thoughts about what you can do about this? You're creating a pull for your products, not a push. And most of the time, sales fail because we push. Okay, I'll take a pause here. I'll ask the panelists their experiences around this. Like as I said, Chennai, sir, I'll start with the Chennai is probably known for this value-centric, customer centricity, and all your organizations are a testimonial for that. Do share your institution's approaches, how you have over a period of time, build that kind of attitude, approach that the customer success is the most important. You need a mic?